friends, so now we're back with torque, always torque. And this is a very important notion, a very important concept of torque. This is the relative torque. Now we're entering, this is very important. Now we are entering the realm of clinical orthodontics, something that we do in our day-to-day practice that really matters, really change our level of orthodontics. This is something that if you master, and you will master in your practice, you will have beautiful results. You will have a high level of refinement of your treatments. So this is something that you have to pay attention. This is why we took that long time to get in here. That time of explaining what is a real torque is for this moment, for the understanding of the relationship between the torsion of the arch wire, the real torque, and the inclination present and the slot. So we have now something that is very important, which is the relationship that will change the inclination or keep the inclination as it is, as we find before we insert our rectangular wire. You will see in this class, you will see in this course that sometimes we commit mistakes because we don't know how to read the torque. We commit some mistakes, we have a very bad outcome because we can't manage to do this, adapt the torsion, to find the best position to put the inclination or the torsion of the arch wire inside this slot. Sometimes we can even have a very severe root resorption because we didn't understand what was going on in that inclination. And this is what I'm here trying to explain to you. We are calling your attention here about this topic. You need to understand what is going to happen when you put in, it seems very harmless, but it's not. You put a innocent rectangular arch wire inside a rectangular slot. Do you understand that? This is the most important thing for us. It's not harmless. We will cause a damage to the occlusion, will cause a tragedy sometimes to the resorption of the root. So let's pay attention in the relative torque. This is the torque expressed in the bracket slots and consequently in the teeth. In other words, what the twist of the wire will represent in terms of inclination tendency in this teeth. So what is going to happen when I put this arch wire inside the slot? So this is the relative torque. This is what the teeth what is the movement that the teeth will have when you put this arch wire inside the slot, when we insert the arch wire inside the slot. So we have the possibility here of having a passive torque, meaning not neutral. Neutral refers to the real torque. Here, when the relative torque is applied, when the relative torque is what we are thinking of, we use the expression passive torque, passive relative torque, okay? We can have it either passive or active. So when we have the active, we can do negative or lingual, meaning lingual, or positive buccal torque or buccal torque. Again, we are talking here about the crown. We are not referring to the root. When we refer specifically to the root, I'm going to say a root torque. So if I don't say anything, I'm referring to the crown torque. Okay, pessoal? Okay, guys? I was talking Portuguese here. Pessoal is guys in Portuguese. So let's move on. We're not here in this part of our course, explaining resistance torque. It will go to, it's very important when we're going to do the retraction. So later on, we are going to explain this. Now we are focusing on passive and active torque. And when we do active torque, the negative or the positive crown torque, okay? So this is what's going to happen. Let me go back again to this image here, which I love. I love this image here. It explains everything about the relative torque. We have the possibility of having a passive torque. As you can see here, we don't have activity here. We have no activity inside the slot. So the torsion of the arch wire, it found the right inclination of the slot. And if we insert this kind of real torque inside the slot, we are going to generate another relationship with what we call which we call the active torque, active relative torque. What is this? Negative or positive? We're going to see in a moment. Okay, so the other possibility here, same thing. Actually, you can see what is going to happen. The torsion here of the arch wire, being in elastic stainless steel arch wire, have this possibility of going back to its form. So when we insert this way, the inclination of the slot is going eventually to find the inclination of the torsion. So this is what's going to happen. We know that when we exert a pressure in our root, it goes to respond with those movements that we see with pressure side, tension side, resorption, and a position of bone, and we know the history about this. So when we exert a force, we exert here, in this case, a couple, we are going to generate a specific movement, which we call a torque. I'm calling your attention all the time about this terminology, this way we think and we refer to the inclination. It's a torque. I know. If I'm very straight about this, I know that torque is one thing and inclination is another thing. Torque is just the torsion. We know that. But sometimes, almost all the time, we refer to the inclination of our teeth as torque. Okay? So excuse me if I commit this mistake, but it's on purpose. I know this is different. I know they are different. There is a difference, better saying, but I'm going to refer the torque or the inclination or as the same thing when I refer to teeth. Okay? Okay, guys? So let's move on. Beautiful image. I love this image. I made this image. I love it. Let's go. Let's move on. Relative torque. The way to check, this is important, guys. The way to check the relative torque is to insert the rectangular wire into the bracket slot of the tooth or group of teeth that we want to check, and assess and evaluate in which position the wire tip, the wire end, will pass in relation to the molar tube. Because when we insert it in the molar tube and it goes to the molar tube, of course, you know that you won't rest like this in a clinical situation. It won't be like this. You have to insert it inside the tube. So this is the reference we have when we put it inside the tube. So this is the way to assess. This is the way to evaluate the relative torque. Okay, let's move on, and we are going to understand it in this next slides. Relative torque. Let's understand now what's going to happen in this relationship here. So as you can see, we have here a different inclination between the rectangular arch wire, the transverse section of the rectangular arch wire, which is neutral, meaning no inclination, no torsion at all, and the inclination that we see here of our slot, our bracket slot. So we have different inclinations. So when we insert the neutral torque, and the neutral torque finds a different inclination of the slot, it will express some kind of force, because it's a negative relationship. It's not a passive relationship. You know? So this is what is going to happen. When I insert it here, now we have the rectangular arch wire inserted in this position, in the slot, and the slot has this inclination, which was different from the inclination of, or the torsion of the arch wire. So when we insert it here, it goes down, it goes occlusally, it goes toward occlusion. So what is going to happen when we force this arch wire to insert it inside the slots, inside the tube of the molar, inside the slots of the bracts of the premolars and canines, and on and on. So what is going to happen in this part of the arch wire? In this part of the interaction between the arch wire and the slot, it is going to generate a force. Can you see this? In which direction the force will act? What do you think? It goes, it will rotate, it will generate a couple, it will generate 2 points of pressure, at least 2 points, let's simplify it here for this moment. 2 points of pressure inside the slot, which we call couple, to equal force in different same direction, different senses, okay? And horizontal, vertical, so the same direction, but different senses, one down and one up. And this couple will generate a moment, tendency to rotation, or if you want to be more straight, more direct, inclination, tendency to inclination of the crown and the root, okay? So it will generate, it will express this active relationship now, meaning that we are going to have a very precise force applied to our crown and to our root, okay? Just see in the moment we're now. And here you will see what's going to happen. We will tend to do this rotation, and it's really a rotation. And let me call your attention for a very advanced concept here, which is the torque is a free vector. So in any position that we apply a couple, the couple is a free vector. In any position of a body that we apply a couple, it will rotate that body, being the center of rotation, the center of resistance itself. So the center of rotation here is the center of resistance itself, meaning this is a situation in which the body will move, rotating being the center of rotation, the center of resistance of the body. So this is what is going to happen. We'll have a tendency to a palatal inclination of the crown and a buccal inclination of the root. So if I have just a couple here, if I have just a couple generated by the torsion, as you know, generated by the couple generated here inside the slot, we will have this situation here, a palatal or negative, meaning negative crown torque, and a buccal root torque. Is that what you want? Sometimes you can feel, you can imagine that this is what you want, but it's very uncommon that you want this kind of thing just when you put the first rectangular wire. You may be thinking, and if you have already read something about this, you may be thinking now, but sometimes you don't have like this because we have a play inside the slot. All those things will be addressed later, okay? I'm just thinking simple here. I'm just simplifying the concept here. When I put this kind of wire, let's think that is a thick wire that fills completely the slot, and let's think what's going to happen when I put this wire inside this slot. So thick wire filling completely the slot. What is going to happen in this relationship? This is what we're talking about in this images here. So in that situation that we saw before, what did we have? We had an inclination of the root and the crown of the teeth, anterior incisors, or the incisors, anterior teeth. So when I put a neutral real torque, the interaction between the neutral real torque and the inclination of the slot changed the position of the crown and the root. So real neutral torque in that situation represented a negative crown relative torque, meaning what the teeth or the specific tooth will do, what it will suffer after we insert that specific real torque inside that slot, okay? So this is the most important thing. If it's not completely clear now, just hold on, you will understand, I guarantee that. Let's go on. So, but Kleber, you're saying to me that every time we insert a neutral torque in a specific inclination of anterior teeth, I'm going to have an active interaction. No, sometimes not. But sometimes, if you have different inclinations, specifically in the extreme positions, okay, very buccal or very buccal or very palatal inclination of the crown, this interaction, it tends to be an active interaction, not a passive interaction. So let's see how it goes in this situation. Same torque, same real torque. See, same real torque, which is completely neutral. Neutral torque. No torsion at all in the wire. What is going to happen now? Same torsion, zero torsion, neutral torque, neutral real torque. Now we have a palatal inclination of the crown. So when it finds this palatal inclination of the crown and the negative inclination of the slot, because the crown is too negative, so the slot is down, it's downwards. The slot is inclined downwards. Okay, so it is this way. Neutral torque, it will find now an active relationship and a negative interaction is going to happen now. So when I insert now this this neutral real torque in this negative inclination of the crown, what is going to happen? What the couple generated inside the slot is going to apply to this specific tooth here. I'm putting in the whole region. It's the incisor, but let's see as a central incisor to make things simpler. What is going to happen? What is the tendency of inclination of the crown and the root when I apply this kind of neutral real torque in a crown inclined palatally like this? It is going to change the inclination, of course. It is going to change this way, buccally, inclining the root buccally. So sometimes we want to do this kind of inclination. Yes, many times actually. Think about, for example, a class 2 division 2. It's very common that we want to do this inclination before we do the retraction. We do the inclination, buccal inclination, then we do the retraction. So it's very common. I do it many times, but the opposite, not. So in this situation here, when we insert this neutral torque in this inclination, what is going to happen is a buccal crown torque. It's a buccal relative crown torque. I'm referring to crown just in order to intensify this concept. I'm just speaking about crown, okay? Torque, crown, torque, crown. If I have to do otherwise, if I have to refer to the root, I'm going to tell you a buccal root torque, but it's not common for me to refer as a root torque, okay? So as you can see, the same real torque applied two different relative torques to the anterior teeth. Because the inclination of the teeth, the inclination of this specific central incised tooth is different in those two examples. First one, very buccal, inclined, great inclination to buccal, and the second situation, great inclination to palatal, to lingual, okay? So we have these possibilities here, and for me, the most important thing is to make you understand this relationship between crown inclination and the torsion of the wire. the rectangular wire. And we will have many examples of that. But I want you to focus on this topic here, the relationship, the interaction between the inclination of the segment of the arch wire, the rectangular arch wire, and the inclination of the slot, which resembles the inclination of the crown itself. Okay? So we have different inclinations of the slot and different possibilities of inclination or torsion of our rectangular arch wire. So the most important thing is the interaction. Okay? See you guys.